Senator Moore.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. And showing this shared commitment to equal pay day, I also want to talk about the fact that last Friday, the 4th of September, was Equal Pay Day in our nation. And each year, and I've spoken many times in this place on this issue, I remind people that we don't celebrate Equal Pay Day, we acknowledge it. And Equal Pay Day being the 4th of September indicates 65 days. 65 days is the symbolic nature of how many days a woman had to work this year to have equal pay with a man. So, and as Senator Cash actually concluded her contribution, there'll be a time when perhaps we will be able to celebrate Equal Pay Day on the 1st of July, the same day for men and women, which indeed would be equal pay. And indeed, Senator Cash talked about the things that were being done in our country, but I quote and I re-quote the statement made by Justice Mary Gaudron after the 1988 case, when she said, and I quote, "We got equal pay once," and that was the 1975 case. "We got equal pay once, then we got it again, then we got it again, and now we still don't have it." Those words that Justice Gaudron spoke in 1998 are just as real today, Mr President. In terms of the progress, I think there has been acknowledgement of the need and there has been ongoing effort. And the work done by the Workplace Gender Equity Agency continues to remind us of exactly what's happening in our nation at the moment. They put out their statistical snapshot, and many of the stats that Senator Cash quoted are in there. But one of the things I wanted to point to in particular was the issue about the individual companies actually developing their own strategies to look at themselves, to see what's happening in their own country, and to actually bring out a gender pay gap analysis. And in last year's statistics, and these are the stats that are kept from the Workplace Gender Equality Agency on the basis of the reports they get from companies with over 100 employees in our nation. Based on the reporting organisations that did conduct a gender pay gap analysis, nearly half of those agencies last year went one step further and took action in their own companies to address their gender pay gap, about 46% of companies. Of these, the majority said they reviewed the remuneration outcomes of individual employees, followed by identifying the causes of the gaps. They actually looked at what was happening in their workplace and saw why women were getting less money than men. It seems really straightforward. We've talked about it since the 70s, but now in 2015, some companies actually took action. They looked at the decision-making processes in companies and also designed an action plan to address the causes. So based on this action, they were able to see what was happening and what they could make happen into the future to make sure that we get a little bit closer in the future to 65 days extra work each year a woman has to do to have equal pay with men. I want to particularly tonight, and I'll do this again in another contribution, pay credit to the work of Liz Broderick, who has just retired as our Sex Discrimination Commissioner. Liz made her final public presentation at the Press Club last week, and there are a number of issues that she raised there about genuine equality in our nation. And she said that gender equality is not a battle of sexes, it's a battle for equality, a battle that men and women must wage side by side. The empowerment of women is about the empowerment of humanity. Now that's true, Mr President, and in terms of tonight, I'm wanting to talk about the actions that Liz has inspired around companies taking action themselves to look at the gender pay gap, the causes of inequality in their own company. As we can see, the Workplace Gender Agency has brought forward stats, but the organisation, the Workplace Champions of Change, the male Workplace Champions of Change, that has inspired by Liz's work as Sex Discrimination Commissioner, have gone one step forward. They've actually set up within their country, in their companies, a commitment that there would be movements towards real equality. First of all, they had to identify that they weren't there, and not all these male champions, the leaders of large companies in Australia, at the beginning of the process truly acknowledged that there was a gap. They knew that there was variations in payment, they knew there was variations in condition, but until they actually talked with their employees together and with their management teams to identify what was happening, they were largely unaware of the range of issues which impact on women in the workplace. And now they are putting into place real actions to make change. And that looks at the hours of work, the flexibility of work, the work demands, the definition of merit in the workplace, all those things that we've talked about so often. But really, Mr. President, the important aspect is that they've identified the need to change. Now, one of the aspects is that whilst people understand that there is a gap that costs women several $100s difference each working week in terms of their take-home pay, there has not been questions from these leaders about it's too hard to do this, it takes too much time, there's too much red tape, all those things we hear about which are the obstacles. Rather, they have actually shown true leadership. They've said that we can make a difference, and they've worked with their workforce to ensure that change occurs. Mr. President, that's something that we're asking all employers to do. This is not somebody else's problem. This is a problem for all of us to identify in our community that there is genuine inequality. As Justice Gaudron said, we keep on winning this equal pay acknowledgement. We just don't seem to be able to get it right. So there is a challenge in 2016. 2015, we brought the equal pay case has been acknowledged. 2015, we saw the figures plummet from 18.1 to 17.9%. Now, that's not a cause for celebration. It is a cause for acknowledgement, but not for celebration. The challenge we need to have, for all the same reasons that Senator Cash acknowledged, is that we need to make a genuine commitment that we will do better, that we will not be asking what somebody else is doing about these issues. We'll be implementing change in our own workplaces, and that can take many different signs in the workplace. But what we must have is an acknowledgement that there will be change. Mr. President, now the BPW Australia has been acknowledging the process of Equal Pay Day for many years, and they have actually said that collaboration between government, business, employees is a long-term solution to closing the gap, but women can take action now. An online pay and contract negotiation checklist, Know Your Value, can help secure better pay and conditions, and we are encouraging women to seek and to consider their own financial decisions to maximise retirement incomes, because we know that the long-term implications are very serious. The superannuation changes, and we're going to have an inquiry in this place about women in super, which really reinforces the fact that this pay gap causes women to have significantly reduced superannuation earnings and security into the future. That means the inequality continues, Mr. President. BPW Australia says that we actually can have online tools that help us to take control of our own salaries and wages. Too often there's a myth that women have not got the ability to negotiate effectively for their own pay and conditions. With support, they can do so. Mr. President, more than likely in this place, in 12 months' time, though many women and men will talk about Equal Pay Day 2016. I sincerely hope it'll be earlier in the year than the 4th of September. It would be very useful as we bring those days down closer to the 1st of July that we can see that we are making progress. The partnerships that Senator Cash referred to in her contribution must be active, and we can do that. It's not just government that can make these changes, but government does have a role to play, and the work that's done by the Workplace Gender Agency, which is actually funded by government, provides the tools to employers and employees to make change in their own workplace, so that 2016 we may even knock that Equal Pay Day back right into the middle of August, Mr. President, and that would be some significant change to take into the future.
Thank you, Senator Moore.